Hi everyone, good afternoon, and I'm C.S. Lee. I'm going to do a sharing today. Firstly, it's with great pleasure that I welcome all of you to come and join my sharing for today. The beginning, when I was asked by Sister Bihong to do this sharing, I thought it was just a normal sharing like the one that I had done before, only like 15 or 20 minutes. But then I was told that it was one long hour sharing. So in fact, I was quite hesitant in the beginning. But then, I just thought to myself that, yeah, actually it's no harm to give it a try. So why not? And here I am. And I'm going to do my sharing on a topic that we are going to celebrate in the next 2 days. That is Father's Day. As you know, in June, Father's Day is quite a big occasion. So I think is nothing more fitting than sharing this topic today. Okay, let's start now. I'm going to share my screen. I actually have to.
Don't worry, I control it. You just have to share.
How to do a full screen?
Slideshow.
Slideshow.
Here.
Yeah.
Here. Oh no, meet now.
Yeah. There.
Here.
Next to the 4 slots.
Sorry.
Next to it. Next. Yeah, this one.
Okay. Yeah, we get it now. So today, the title of the topic that I'm going to share is Fatherhood and Buddhism. So it's a brief glance into fatherhood of Buddha and his sermons on the roles of family members. So as we know, in the world of parents, a mother is usually seen as a dominant figure in terms of dedication and commitment to a family. Deep down in the hearts of children, their mothers conquer a greater part compared to fathers, even at a celebratory stage, like Father's Day or Mother's Day. Mothers are usually cherished more than fathers. Thus, we have a lot of songs, artworks, literary works, etc., that highlight the greatness of mothers. Even Mother's Day is more popularly celebrated than Father's Day. So why? Probably is it's because father is more of a hidden figure behind the family scene when it comes to parenting. Thus, children always see their fathers as someone who is always absent from their growing life. As most of the fathers need to earn a living and put bread on the table, thus companionship is sacrificed. Being around is hard to come by. Therefore, the intensity of love felt by children is usually weaker from their fathers compared to mothers. But then certainly there are exceptional cases where a father could love their kids as much as if not more than a mother. So before we go to the content of my sharing, let's watch this short video clip about how a father takes care of his disabled son.
Down.
Okay. Yep.
你要叫我什么？爸爸。他就像1岁的小孩子一样，所以他永远就是那么单纯。
Increase your computer volume.
你看他现在就是要唱歌，他咳嗽就是要唱歌。
想翔传递的讯号只有爸爸才懂，洪爸爸边喂饭边哼歌，想翔跟着敲打节拍。
趁他愿意吃，就要赶快，能快给他吃就行，要不然他有时候吃一个饭要1个多小时。
4个月大时因保姆疏失，想翔失去正常长大的机会。4岁之前动了7次开颅手术，小小身躯承受极大病苦，
不断的去接这个病危通知，不断的手术，你没办法面对。你看着孩子一次又一次的那一种折磨，你任谁你都没办法去承受。
想翔今年25岁，多重障碍，行为躁动，唯有音乐能平抚情绪，复健之路格外漫长。
一直转呢？
他习惯了，他这样转不会晕，我们看的人都会晕。那现在平衡有差一点。
不停旋转，转呀转，想翔似乎是在自己的世界取得平衡。
之前因为癫痫跌倒，然后整个落地窗都撞破。
住家铺满软垫，基本安全防护。
癫痫一发作就没有意识了，那丧失意识就一下子就倒下去，而且你不知道什么时候发生。 之前他最频繁的时候，1个月甚至8次，有时候1天甚至就3次。你在姑姑啊？哎呀，
她真的是比一个妈妈更称职，对她的照顾这么的无微不至。
来，刷牙呀，想开一点啊，不可以咬啊。不会表达，你牙齿痛的话，你很伤脑筋。牙齿有问题的话，几乎都要全身麻醉啊，因为他没办法配合啊。说句个。
想想食衣住行全仰赖爸爸照顾，妈妈在他6个月大时离家。
妈妈离开那一天，我不知道是不是母子连心啊，他真的一晚都没睡，而且一直哭。
承诺让想想不缺爱，但心里的苦，洪爸爸花了好多时间才释怀。
什么是这么不公平啊？为什么是我的孩子？很长一段时间，大概5年的时间，我衣服不敢放外面，我不敢走出这个阳台，我很想掉下去。
能够想通，决定勇敢的关键是，
我觉得还是爱吧。你看到这个孩子，你发觉他比你坚强，承受那么多的痛苦，但他总是笑着对着我，
笑容化解一切苦难。洪爸爸在想想身上看见自己存在的需要。
我知道我不是一个100分的爸爸，没办法给你一个家，给你一个妈妈，但我会尽我最大的力量，让你在一个有爱的环境中长大。你要叫我什么？爸爸。
So, how do you feel after watching this short clip? It's surely a very touching one. So I'm sure all of us will be deeply moved by the father presented in this clip. Just unfortunately that the subtitle is in the narration, and also subtitles are in Mandarin. So I have to, but then I have briefly summarized the entire story as follows. Actually, the boy in the clip suffers from multiple disabilities due to negligence committed by his nanny at the age of 4. Since then, he had to undergo 7 times of cranial surgery or brain operations, and he eventually survived with some permanent complications, unfortunately, as shown in the clip. You can see that he keeps on moving in a circle. Sometimes you will have frequent epileptic attacks. And there was a time he shattered the glass windows when it happened. So you can see there are a lot of cushions everywhere in their house to provide protections. He doesn't know how to express his feeling. He has to go through general anesthesia whenever he needs to have any dental treatment. His mother left him when he was 6 months old, and since then the father has been taking care of him for 25 years until today. So from this video clip, it is doubtless that the extent and intensity of father's love are no different to a mother's. Although the father in the clip did encounter dilemmas, and difficulties of getting over it, as he said, for a long 5 years, he actually dare not dry his laundry at the balcony because he was skeptical that he would just one day plunge into his death, you see. But eventually, he was able to forego this tragic idea. And when he was asked how, and he said, probably love. So you can see love has the greatest power, to solve all the difficulties, all the problems that we have in our daily life. Yes, so love is and will always be the answer. And today we are going to look into the love of being a father from a perspective of Buddhism. What Buddha taught us about being a son, a father, and the family value. I will present this sharing in brief according to the following topics.
1. Buddha as a son. 2. Buddha as a father. 3. Buddha's teachings about family. 4. Master tells story. A father looks for his son. 5. Me and my father.
For the first one, I will talk about the relationships of Buddha and his father, King Suddhodana. Then the second one is about himself and his son, Rahula. After that, I will talk about his teaching about family value. Actually, after that, it will be followed by a sharing by someone who has a great story to tell about his relationship with his father. And lastly, it's only Master Cheng Yen tells a story about a father looking for his demise sons. So without much ado, let's start the first topic of the day, of the sharing today, which is about the role of Buddhas as a son. It has always been interesting to study the roles of the Buddha as a son and a father. This is mainly because Buddha renounced his status as a prince and detached from a family structure on his 29th birthday. In fact, at that moment, according to the explanation from Pali tradition, his only son Rahula was born. If this was true, then Buddha's experiences of fatherhood are short and sparse. But before his renunciation and departure from the palace, his father, King Suddhodana, had been extremely protective and trying very hard to shelter Buddha from the outside world. It was fully comprehensible for King Suddhodana to act in such a manner, as Buddha was his only son, conceived by his chief consort. He has actually a few wives, but Buddha was the one conceived by his eldest wife, the first wife, okay, the chief consort, Queen Mahamaya. So after almost 20 years of marriage, they had the first son, okay? So even the name chosen by the king is Siddhartha, means wish fulfilled. So you can see, how important these sons to him, for King Suddhodana. Upon his birth, sage Asita, who was the teacher to King Suddhodana, came to visit the baby. And to his surprise, the baby moved and placed his feet on Asita's head. After examining the markings on the baby's feet, sage Asita predicted that this baby would one day become a Buddha who would pave the path for the world to end all the sufferings. So despite this prediction was further enhanced by other occasions, King Suddhodana was determined to nurture Siddhartha to be a king one day, to inherit him. So he surrounded him with endless luxuries to ensure that he was shielded from suffering. But however, the prince's aspirations and effort over eons of time had to be fulfilled. The moment of renunciation eventually came. And since then, King Suddhodana had never met his son again until after his enlightenment. So that was only 7 years later when King Suddhodana was told that Buddha resided in Rajagraha. A strong desire arose from his heart to see the enlightened son again. So he sent a messenger with a huge group of companions to invite Buddhas to return to his motherland in Kapilavastu. Actually, not only once, in fact, a few times, okay? But then the messengers and the companions, upon hearing, when they met Buddha and upon hearing Buddha's Dhamma, all of them were gladly ordained by Buddha and didn't return to the country or even to the palace. So King Suddhodana then sent 9 more messengers in 9 more times, to convey the invitation, but none of them returned to the palace. as they were all converted to the followers of Buddha. Finally, out of desperation, he sent Kaludai. Kaludai, he was a very close friend of Buddha, to meet him, because both of them were born on the same day. You see. So Kaludai, he too, when he met Buddha, he became Buddha's follower too. But then he kept his promise of conveying King Suddhodana's message to Buddha. So Buddha accepted his father's invitations and visited Kapilavastu. Upon meeting his son after a long 7 years, King Suddhodana ecstatically rejoiced. But at the same time, he felt deeply desolated, as he realized that he could never anticipate his son to be his heir again. He knew that, okay? So Buddha could sense his father's dejections, although King Suddhodana tried to conceal it. So this is how Buddha pacified his father.
I know that the king's heart is full of love, and that for his son's sake, he feels deep grief. But let the ties of love that bind him to the son, whom he lost, embrace with equal kindness all his fellow beings. For he will receive in his place a greater one than Siddhartha. He will receive the Buddha, the teacher of truth, the preacher of righteousness, and the peace of nirvana will enter his heart.
So as you can see from this great speech, how Buddha pacified his dispirited father and fulfilled his role as a son in the most compassionate manner. Despite gaining enlightenment, Buddha still displayed deep humility and respect to his father. So the next day, without an invitation from King Suddhodana, because the king assumed that Buddha and his followers would come to the palace for their meals. So he didn't actually verbally invite Buddha, okay? So the Buddha decided to examine what the Buddhas of the past did when they first visited their home cities uninvited. He found out that they actually went for alms from house to house. So Buddha and his followers practiced the age-old tradition of seeking alms from every house. King Suddhodana was upset, of course, okay, when he knew about it. He exasperately questioned Buddha why he did so. Buddha replied that,
Father, I'm following the custom of my ancestors.
And the king said,
You are the young prince with royal blood, and the ancestors never begged for food.
Buddha immediately corrected the king by saying,
Father, I am of the Buddha lineage and not king's lineage.
So this simple action, you can see that this simple action revealed the true humility of Buddha, as he not only sought counsel from the traditions of past Buddhas, but he didn't see any need for arrogance just because he came from a royal case. So Buddha later led King Suddhodana to attain 3 stages of sainthood: Sotapanna, Sakadagami, and Anagami, without renunciation. So the king did not renounce, but then at the end, he attained these 3 stages of sainthood, by the help of his own son. And many years later, on hearing of his father's imminent death, Buddha returned to Kapilavastu again and to give his last discourse to King Suddhodana. So upon hearing the Dharma of the last discourse, King Suddhodana attained arahantship and passed away peacefully 7 days later. So from these few incidents that disclose the interactions between Buddha and his father, there is no doubt Buddha had never relinquished his roles and responsibilities as a son. His love for his father never waned despite his long absence from his father's life. So after talking now about the Buddha relationship with his father, now let us shift our focus on Buddha's roles as a father. So how he plays his role as a father. Okay. So although Buddha was generally recognized by Buddhism practitioners as someone who abandoned his family and somehow discouraged familial structure, okay, in reality, he played the role of a father quite brilliantly. This point was proven by the fact that his son, Rahula, was ordained by him to become a monk. Since then, he had been under Buddha's tutorship during his growing years. According to Pali account, of course, there are other accounts too, that explain how his son was born, but now today I'm going to base on this Pali account. His son was born at the very moment Buddha was about to depart from the palace on his 29th birthday. So when he received the news of his son's birth, he exclaimed,
"A Rahu is born, a fetter has arisen."
So fetter here means binds, like rope. You tie up something. It's called fetter. So thus, the son was named Rahula, meaning fetter or impediment, or ostensibly it means obstacle. Okay, because Buddha recognized that a child could be a tie that bound him to his wife, Yasodhara, a binding that might impede his search for enlightenment. That's why, he named his sons Rahula. So Rahula was raised by his mother and grandfather. Of course, Buddha has left the palace. So he was raised by his mother and grandfather, King Suddhodana, for 7 years without paternal love. When he was 7 years old, he deeply missed his father, or Buddha, and requested to meet his father. Then, as stated in my previous episode, the Buddha returned to Kapilavastu after repeatedly invited by King Suddhodana. So on the 7th day of his return, Yasodhara, Buddha's wife, brought Rahula to meet the Buddha. She told Rahula that since his father renounced his royal status, so now Rahula, or his son, was the next royal prince in line. Therefore, he should ask his father for his inheritance of crown and treasure. So Rahula had a meal with his father, with the Buddha, and after having the meal, Rahula followed Buddha and propounded the request. So when they reached the part of Nigroda, this is, so Buddha, along the way, Buddha thought to himself, okay, in this way, okay.
He desires his father's inheritance, but it is wrought with troubles. I shall give him the benefit of my spiritual enlightenment and make him an owner of transcendental inheritance.
So, Buddha realized that his son would actually encounter the same fate like him if, he was to be given the chance to be the prince. So instead of, giving him all that, it is much better for him to impart, what he already knows to his own son. So he then called Venerable Sariputta and asked him to ordain little Rahula, who became Buddha's first Samanara, or novice monk. So Rahula was the Buddha's first novice monk. Okay. Since then, Rahula had been around his father and received training under Buddha's tutorship and indoctrinations. So since then, Rahula has been around with the Buddha. Okay. So Buddha imparted 3 main discourses to Rahula. He provided guidance, and eventually Rahula became an arahant through the teachings of the Buddha. The old scriptures actually do not depict much, about the relationship between the Buddha and his son Rahula, but various hints provide a very interesting picture of how the Buddha guided Rahula's maturation. Most of the hints are contained in 3 discourses that follow the pattern of 3 successive trainings, forming the path of Rahula to awakenings.
When he was 7, the Buddha taught him about virtue. During his teenage period, the Buddha instructed him in meditation. And when he was 20, the Buddha taught him liberating wisdom.
So now let me share 3 inspiring stories in each discourse to show how the Buddha displayed his skills and experiences of fatherhood. The first one is about virtue. So it illustrates how Rahula was taught to live a life of integrity. When he was 8, he told a deliberate lie. Then the Buddha showed Rahula a bowl with a little water left after he rinsed his feet. He then threw out the remaining water, turned the bowl upside down, and finally showed him the empty bowl. So for each action, this is how Buddha explained to Rahula.
This is the spiritual life of someone who is not ashamed of telling a deliberate lie. When someone is not ashamed to tell a deliberate lie, there is no evil that he or she would not do. Therefore, Rahula, train yourself to not utter a falsehood, even as a joke.
Then the Buddha explained the significance of a mirror by telling Rahula as follows.
Whenever engaging in a physical, verbal, or mental activity, you should reflect, will this activity bring harm to myself or others? If you realize it will bring harm, then such activity is unfit for you to do. If it will bring benefit to you or others, then it is something right for you to do.
So from the above preaching, instead of teaching Rahula to recognize absolute notions of right and wrong, the Buddha was teaching him to reflect on harm and benefits. This requires both self-awareness and empathy. So I think all of us who are parents can really learn something from this story, that we can't just keep reminding our children what is right and what is wrong, without teaching them how to observe and scrutinize every act and situation they may encounter in their life. So the fundamental principle of this practice is based on what the Buddha said about harm and benefit, as I stated above. Now we go to the second story. It's about meditation, as the Buddha began teaching meditation to Rahula as a way to develop a foundation of inner well-being. Please take note that meditation here means extended thoughts or reflection or contemplation. It is not the act of meditation like what we generally conceive when people talk about meditation nowadays. So the story takes place when Rahula set out with the Buddha on their morning alms round. Rahula was having conceited thoughts about his good look. Of course, Rahula actually was quite good looking, just like Buddha. So when Buddha knew about it, so the Buddha noticed his son's preoccupation with his own look. So he said,
when seen with wisdom, the physical body should not be viewed as me myself, or mine. In fact, one shouldn't see any feeling, perception, mental activity, or consciousness through the concept of me, mine, myself, and mine.
But hearing this, Rahula felt admonished. He was a bit upset. So he left without collecting food for the day. But then later on that evening, Rahula went to his father and asked for instructions in breath meditation. The Buddha used analogies to illustrate how to have equanimity during meditation. This is what he said.
Develop meditation that is like the earth. As the earth is not troubled by agreeable or disagreeable things it comes into contact with. Develop meditation like water, fire, air, or space, as all these are not troubled by agreeable or disagreeable things they come into contact with. So if you meditate like the earth, fire, water, air, or space, all the agreeable and disagreeable experiences will not trouble you.
My understanding of this paragraph is whenever we are meditating about something, we must have a clear mind that will fend off all the external factors that may sway or influence our decision or our next action. Otherwise, we might respond incorrectly or come to an erroneous conclusion. The Buddha also reminds Rahula and all of us that we have to always meditate on loving kindness as an antidote to ill will, okay? On compassion to overcome cruelty, on sympathetic joy to master discontent, and on equanimity to subdue aversion. So this is how Buddha taught us, how to overcome ill will. Then we have to always think about loving kindness. How to overcome cruelty, compassion, and discontent. Then we have to always think about sympathetic joy, and also how to subdue aversion, on equanimity. So now we come to the last story, and in this final sutta, the Buddha guides Rahula through a series of questions that led him to liberating wisdom. At this moment, Rahula has regrown up, 20 years old. So when Rahula was 20 years old, the Buddha went for a walk with him deep into the woods in a grove of majestic sound trees. Sitting at the base of these gigantic trees, he led Rahula through a thorough questioning of every basis used for clinging to the idea of a self. Okay, so now they were talking about self. Okay, he knew that for someone as well trained as Rahula, the deeply rooted tendency to cling to some idea of an essential self can be the last barrier to liberation. So actually, this final teaching of the Buddhas to Rahula is equally applicable to all of us today. So we are consciously, because we are consciously or unconsciously attached to the idea of self first. So everything starts first from our own selves. Thus, if things don't go our ways or turn out as we expect them to be, expect them to be, even though it might have brought benefit to the others, we still very much upset. We still won't feel happy because self first has strongly taken root in our mind. I've reflected this issue on myself. So, I've come up with this example that lately, everyone was scrambling to register for the AstraZeneca vaccines on the 26th of May. And of course, I did that too. And I was ecstatic when I knew that I was able to grab one. But now, in retrospect, I just feel that even if I fail, even if I didn't manage to grab one, to get an appointment, actually I should still feel happy too. For those who can get the one that I was supposed to get. Because if I didn't get that one, then of course that appointment would go to another person, you see. And actually I should feel happy for him as well. So that's why if we could discard this self-first idea, then I'm sure we shall be happier most of the time in our daily life. Lastly, from these stories about the Buddha and Rahula, it is clear that the Buddha was a great and loving father, and doubtlessly he had fulfilled all the responsibilities more than what he should as a father to his son. So after talking about how the Buddhas play his roles as a father and a son, I think it is vital for us to delve into his perceptions of family, how Buddha looked at family. Okay? So how he looked at family structure, because as in general, still Buddha is seen as someone who renounced family life because he left the palace, he left his wife and his son, his father, his mother at the age of the 29. So he still is seen as someone who rebelled against his father and abandoned his wife and son to pursue his own enlightenment. But then despite the Buddha's ambivalent relationship with his father and son, you can find quite substantial amount of preachings about family by the Buddha in several suttas. Okay? For example, in the Sigalaka Sutta, the Buddha set out 5 traditional duties that children have to their parents and vice versa. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha stated,
monks, I declare that there are 2 persons one can never repay. What 2? One's mother and father.
So even in Mahayana Buddhism, the Buddha is sometimes portrayed as the father of all sentient beings. So before I talk about what we can learn from the Buddha's teaching about parenting, these are the 5 traditional duties stated by the Buddha in Sigalaka Sutta that children have to their parents and vice versa. So those 5 are as follows.
Children to parents. 1. Support them in their old age. 2. Do as they are asked. 3. Keep family traditions. 4. Deserve their inheritance. 5. Honor them after they have passed away.
And the other 5 that children have to their parents, that parents have to their children.
1. Keep them away from evil. 2. Encourage them to do good. 3. Provide them with a good education. 4. Make suitable marriage arrangement for them. 5. Give them their inheritance when they need it.
So, astonishingly, you can see that all these rules, simple rules that Buddha set for children and parents actually are still applicable until today, although they were set by the Buddha 2,500 years ago. Maybe if you look at the one that parents have to their children, number 4, under parents to children, make suitable marriage arrangement for them. So today we may not have to do so, but then still sometimes, we still do introduce someone to our unwed kids. So, it's still quite applicable. Although we don't really arrange marriage, for our kids nowadays. So before I continue to talk about what we can learn from Buddha's teaching about parenting, I would like to highlight one of the duties that children have to their parents. I think this is this is one of the most important, okay, which is to support them in their old age. When we are just born, our parents start thinking of us. So when we are growing up, they provide us with all the supports available within their affordability. So when they are getting old, the time has come for us to reciprocate and do the same as what they have done when we are young. So in this topic, regarding to this issue, today I'm pleased to invite a guest, Brother Feng Xuan, to share with us his story about this topic. That is how he has been providing support to his dad. Over to you, Brother Feng Xuan.
Yep, thank you. Let me share my screen. Sibo, maybe you have to unshare your screen first.
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Okay.
You start.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Moment, Wait, a little bit technical issue. Okay, so a very good afternoon to all the brothers, sisters, and Amitofo to all of you. And I feel very quite nervous right now because this is my first time to conduct a sharing in English. So basically, I'm actually talk more in Chinese or in Mandarin. So today we'll talk about a very special story about me and my my father, and I call this topic as my hero daddy. So a lot of people, before I start my topic, I want to share with you a back picture of my my father, which is, if you thought this is not our Tzu Chi uniform, okay. So this bag is some sort like a mountain for us when we are in since we are very small until now. Okay, why I call my father as a hero? Because in my impression or in my journey from kids to until now, I'm also a father. My father plays a lot of role in his life. Okay, first, he is a Superman. Okay, he is a father to us. He actually take good care of us, and he never beat us unless we are doing some very big mistake. Okay, and then he also is our personalized barber. Okay, he even go to learn how to cut hair from the Indians, and then that's a very precious moment since I'm very young. What I remember is every time when we want to cut hair, we will just let him know, and then we will take out the chair, and then we'll move it to our car porch there, and then we'll take off our shirt, and then we will take out all his tools, and then that moment is very precious for me actually, because it takes probably around 30 minutes, and then we will have a very funny talk while we are doing the cut hair, and sometimes he will accidentally to cut our ear, and then and that time he will very carefully to use his hand to hold our ear, the wound, to make sure there is no bleeding or something like this. So this is I remember until now, even though I'm actually almost 35 years old now. So this memory is kept very long in my memory. Okay, he is also a tutor. My father is actually work as a driving tutor. We can say that our siblings, all our driving license, all our motors, all our even our car is teach by us, teach by my father, and also he is a tutor for others also. So everything he actually involved in all while in our growing up experience. He also very know in how to repair on car maintenance, everything. So all the car maintenance is done by him. So that's why I'm saying that my father is a hero. He is a very, very smart guy and a very polite guy. He never shout to us. He never beat us. And yes, at 2009, this hero was fallen. Okay, and this is the most, we can say that is the darkest hours in my life. Okay, let me share about a story, a very quick story about my father's on why I'm saying that this is the darkest hour in, not the darkest hour, but it's the darkest years in our life. Okay, my father in this 9 years, 2000 to 2009, within these 9 years, actually in years of 2000, we found that there is a pituitary tumor grows in his brain. It's a brain tumor. So within these 9 years, actually he has gone through 3 times of brain surgery. And each time it takes probably around 1 month to recovery back to a normal. So he was act like very normal. After the surgery, everything is okay. But at 2009 until 2010, something's happened, but we don't know what actually happens on this, because he have a major surgery on his brain again. And why I saying that is a 1+1, because after he do the surgery, we found that there is a I think is malfunction or what, and then he need to go back to the hospital and do the replacement of to start the hole or something like this in the brain. Okay, in between this, he even go through a minor surgery for 4 times. Okay, can you imagine? My father actually has been gone through 4 plus 3 plus 2. There is probably around 9 times of brain surgery. And in this year, he had been sent into ICU, and then he stayed inside for probably around 3 weeks. And then after 3 weeks, when the situation is getting better, then he moved to normal ward, and then stay there for probably around 1 month. So I can say that in this 1 month, probably around 2 months time, I actually most of the time staying in hospital, general hospitals. And then we very friend, we quite friend to the nurses inside the general hospital, because my father inside was so long. And then I have to work at afternoon. That afternoon, after I done my job, and then I have to go back to maybe have a dinner, and then I have to go to, because we are staying in Batu, so I have to go to Penang and then stay overnight, and then the next day have to talk to the doctor, because the doctor will have will come here, and then they will give some prescription, or they will understand the current situation of my father. So every day is like that. And then until the last day of that he can discharge from hospital, there is a problem that giving to us. So we want to send him to care center, or we have to go home, because we don't have a very proper knowledge to how to take care of a patient. Because at that time when he is in the ICU 3 weeks, he from a very big guy, a fatty guy, from probably around 80 plus kg to 90 kgs, and he become a very thin guy, probably around left around 40 or 50 kg like that. So because he cannot take any solid food, he only can drink maybe milks or liquid food. So in these 2 months, we have to take care of him it was very suffer. And then so that's why we come to a crossroad, see whether we want to send him to care center to let the professional people to take care of him, or we take him home. And then after a discussion with our family members, we decided to send my father back to home, and then we have to take care of him. And then in the process, we can say that it's very, very suffer, especially if you don't take care of a patient before, you will never imagine how suffer a family will be, because he cannot go to toilet by himself. Everything he pass urine or the poops, you have to clear, and then you have to make sure the foods that he takes is properly blended. It's not have something like solid, even has solid, because my father has lay on the bed too long, so they have to operate the hole at the throat here to make sure the fluid able to flow inside the stomach. So after taking him, even though because I'm the only son, I'm not only son, we have a siblings, but my brothers, my elder brothers and my youngest brother is study at KL and also work at KL. But by that time, I'm the only boys in the house. So I will sleep with my father's in my room also. And then for the whole 3 to 4 months, I actually cannot sleep well, because whenever my father's move at the midnight, I will wake up because I need to check what actually happens to him. Is there any like he feel uncomfortable, or what happened to him? So that's a very quite unforgettable experience. So then here I want to show you that 2010 he came back to his own house, and then we start to take care of him. And here 2014 he back to normal, but he doesn't look like abnormal people from outside, but actually he already lost the ability to take care of himself. Only he can walk like normal, he can eat like normal, he can go to toilet like normal, but actually he forgot every one of us, or maybe he only have a certain very limited memory in his brain. Yeah. And then this is 2015. We want to train him for his mobility, so we get one bicycle, and you can see the smile on his face is so so sunshine. We can say it's a sunshine. And when I see his smile, I feel very valuable. Everything that passed in the past 4 maybe 5 years is just nothing, as long as my father can be healthy. Okay, this is 2018. You can see his smile. And then this is 2019. And that's my baby's born. And 2020, we don't know what happens. And in the mid of 2020, he started to, all the function becomes low, and he was just cannot move anymore. He have no strength to walk. He can't eat, something like this. So we are forced to use a tube to do the fluid, so that this can maintain his life. So now only he can move his eye. We don't know whether he still remembers us, or he remembers us but he cannot speak out, or we don't know. But what we have to do is we have to accompany him. We don't know when will be the end of day. But as a son, as a father of my son, this is a role model for my son, actually, to let him see that father for us, even though he is sick, but this is our responsibility. Because I got shared before in a very earlier year, when we are young, our father, our mother will help us to clean our poop, or they help us to change our pampers or what. But why we cannot do this when they need us. So this is the responsibility that we have to take up. Okay, so this is the latest the pictures of my father's, where you can see that he is very lucky because all of us still beside him. And yes, we actually will leverage our responsibility and we take up all responsibility together to take care of him. So this is not only my duty, but also the duties of our siblings. Yeah. So so my sharing is probably like this because the story is very, very long. I just can cut short. And this is one of the drama performance we have by our Chiqing in 2013. And I'm also one of the actor. And that's why I'm saying that parents actually provide the mold and teachers provide the model through each their action. They teach children the right view of their life. And this is what my father teach me. And now I actually follow what he taught us and teach back my kids right now. So, and once again, I very thank you to brothers and Siku and Sipo to giving me this opportunity to share about my father's. Actually, it's quite a long time. I didn't actually talk about my father, and the people that know me, they know, but the people that doesn't know me, this is a good chances for us to, or good opportunity for us to look back to our parents. Maybe one day we don't know what will happen to them, but please, we have to appreciate what we have right now. And remember, call your parents whenever you are free. Okay, 感恩。
Parents, I mean, two persons, they can take care of like maybe 5 or 6 kids, but at the end, when they are old, none of the kids can really take care of them. This is really a pity. This is something that we should bear in mind, and we should not do it ourselves. Okay. So thanks again to Brother Feng Xuan, and let us continue my sharing.
Can you repeat the first front, what the Buddha said?
So you know, as what the Buddha said actually for these rules is to support our parents in their old age. So this is very important. Okay. So now let's share the screen again.
You share sound.
Okay, we have more or less come to the last part of the. So this is the slide for Brother Feng Xuan sharing, and now we have come to the last part where Master Ching Yan tells us a story. Okay. So if you closely follow the teachings of the Buddha, although you might not be able to find specific topics about parenting, it doesn't mean that a great teacher like Buddha, who talked about nearly every subject of the human condition, forgot about it. The truth may surprise you because he didn't have to. Maybe a lot of you would find that Buddha didn't really talk about parenting. But then if you really follow the Buddha teachings, you can find that his approach to raising children is actually the path the Buddha laid out. Okay, so when he followed the path, everything falls into place. There are the wise teaching that the Buddha preached as far as parenting is concerned. There are a few. Okay. The first one, authenticity. So this is what Buddha said about authenticity.
However many holy words you read, however many you speak, what good will they do if you do not act on upon them?
So what does it mean? It means children do not learn from the 1,000 things we say, you see. They learn from how we are, how we comport ourselves, and how we behave, how we deal with our life. Because this is what children suck up, with their open, curious minds. That means children will not always listen to what you tell them to do, but sometimes they will observe how and what you act in your daily life. Okay, so that is authenticity. Second, personal practice. So this is what Buddha said about personal practice.
No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path.
So it means, without any doubt, the most important aspect of raising a smart and emotionally intelligent kid, is your own example. Okay, but how to do that? So with your own practice. So we can only do that with our own practice. Practice with mindfulness is how we place our mind in a cradle of loving kindness. Third, surrender. Buddha said,
to live a pure, unselfish life, one must count nothing as one's own in the midst of abundance.
So it means the biggest ask of adults when becoming a parent is surrender, or in my definition, sacrifice. We have to allow children to be children. If we can't surrender our own time, peace, comfortability, then parenthood will be a constant struggle to hold on to our territory. Number 4, let go. Buddha said,
the heart is like a garden. It can grow compassion or fear, resentment or love. What seeds will you plant there?
So this teaching means mindfulness opens the door to letting children discover who they are. So we as a parents, we always fall into the traps of thinking what they need to be or what they need to do. Maybe, you always feel that your child should be a banker, a doctor, artist, spiritual, or rich, and etc. But that's what we want, in fact, and may not have anything to do with what your child or your children want. Thus, parents need to let go of all their preemptive thoughts about their children. The last teaching is the mundane is sacred. Buddha said,
do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment.
So what does it mean? It means that children are completely in the moment because they are still kids, okay? So they don't know or understand our past experiences or future anticipation. They have no clue about spirituality, business, economy, and etc. So our kids, our children experience their entire world is the house they live in. So we have to be mindful of all the mundane chores in our daily life. So we have, for example, we can regard food as a chance to nourish, clothes as a chance to protect. Then naturally, we will appreciate the sacredness in our existence. So if we, although a lot of people say that, you can't find any parenting skills taught by the Buddha. In fact, the Buddha teaching, if you follow the Buddha teaching closely, there are a lot of essential Buddhist-inspired principles that we can apply in our parenting journey. Like recognizing that a stable mind is a powerful mind. Learn to be okay with anxiety, paying attention to your child's emotions, trust that your child is resilient, and finally, accepting the concept of impermanence into your life. Lastly, I'm going to talk about these very important issues, impermanence, okay? So to most of us, having children is a great pleasure, of course, okay? And then we always take it for granted that we shall be leaving the world before them. We always feel that the kids will overleave us, okay? But then impermanence sometimes occurs, okay? And our children might leave us first, okay, before we do. So when this unfortunate tragedy happens, and this always happens, okay? In our daily life, you can see that, usually a lot of youngsters just die first before their parents. So how are we going to face it? How are parents whose kids much younger than them die before them, okay? So how did the Buddha relieve the grieved parents who have to experience this painful event? So I'm going to tell this by showing you the final video clip that presented by our Honorable Master Ching Yen, who enlightened us on these issues. Okay, so let's watch the final clip.
父母的名稱、愛人的名稱、囝的名稱、親屬等等啊，各有名稱，各有分別。那路人伫咧行，撞到人打招呼，這是過客啊。敢若安尼過一個路啦，佇某種的因緣啊，相捌着啦。有時陣，安尼捌着熟悉的人，無定着呢，牽引入來一個家庭，牽引入來你的戲中啦，嘛無定着。咱來到這個人間，不管是父母所生兄弟做伙，或者是呢，甲生命中牽連着的人，或者是咱愛擱再延續落去的，這攏總是佇這個依着咱的因緣啊，安尼牽引來的。有囝的時真歡喜哦，多子多孫叫做福樂壽啊。但是緣盡啊，抑閣是貪着毋甘啊。不管是生離或者是死別啊，都是苦不堪。就親像佛經內底啊，有安尼一段的故事。有一位真有錢的長者，伊老來得子啦，囝 真可爱，安尼人看人爱。老爸疼囝呢，好亲像伫咧爱家己的性命。囡仔7岁啦，无病无痛。有一天，忽然间，呼吸停止啦，就往生去。这个老爸呢，痛踢骨髓，抱到囝哭昏去，精神还是阁抱到囝，抱到囝阁哭。一定唔肯放弃啊！后来亲情朋友啊，不管伊安怎样的执着，还是呢，把伊的身躯的面顶囡仔给拖落来，把囡仔呢摕去埋。这老爸呢，足痛苦的呀！伊就讲，我一定要甲找回来，伊就出去啦。有一回啊，就到个一个婆罗门梵寺啦，伫咧修行的地方，伊就去要求。安怎才会当找我的囝转来？凡是互伊甜得无办法啦，就甲伊讲啊，你去往南行吧，一直行，行到呢大河的中央一个小岛，阎罗王会对迄个所在过，你呢？去找阎罗王讨你的囝吧。这个老爸呢，沿路直直行，经过了真多工哦，果然一条大河，远远看去一个小岛。真侪人伫迄个所在经过，到底倒一位是阎罗王啊？其中有一位讲：呀，你要找阎罗王是啥物代志啊？我爱我的囝，你甲我的囝还我啦！阎罗王就讲：看你找囝遮尔正殷切，好吧，你去找。伊若有要缀你转去啊，你就甲带转去。听着真欢喜，阎罗王伫要放人哦，所以呢，伊就搁再向前，认到伊的囝啦，赶紧呢，甲囝揪着。你知影你安尼一走呢？老爸啊，老母啊，是遮尔正痛彻心碎啊！来，转来去吧。一个囡仔看到老爸，真正的发怒，就讲：你这个无知无耻的老王啊！我只不过呢，是伫恁兜做过客而已啦。也阁有我阁在未来的爸母啊！你要甲我带去倒位去呢？该撒开啦！伊做伊走去咯，心头听到的，囝唔转去，我这个无耻的老王要对倒去啊！后来伊就想。我应该来去找佛啦，见到佛啦，将伊的内心找囝的心啊，向佛陀讲，佛 佛陀呢，就讲你确实是无知老翁啊，人生啊，来人间只是一场的缘，既然缘尽，你不顾一切，这种追求啊，拢是苦。老翁终于听清楚啦，醒悟起来啦。是啊，一世人碌呢，赚钱真多，又是要安怎呢？有囝真欢喜呢，也是短暂的7年。7年的时间，囝往生想尽办法啦，到阎罗殿还是敢若比这个囝呢，骂我是无耻的老翁。安尼，就是这世人，敢是安尼的目的呢？所以开始醒悟起来啦，成为一位虔诚的佛教徒，拥护佛法，了解人间啊，不过是一场戏，不过亲像过客而已。只不过呢，以这个缘呐，名称无同，生生世世，这个爱恨情仇，安尼不断牵连着，心痛心苦啊，就是因为人的关系。所以啊，做宝贝，为什么都爱安尼执着着呢？缘尽啊，还搁伫咧贪着啥物呢？这呢，从佛陀开始过来，伊了解啦，也若无呢，情的锁啊，安尼甲伊甜蜜着吼，那痴爱成迷啊，人生就是安尼啦。
Okay, so I don't think I need to elaborate a lot more on this video because it is quite self-telling, and but I think the conclusion is all of us, we should not take kids as our own property. We actually don't own them. We have the kids with us, as shown by the clips, by the video clips. It is just of that karmic affinity. Due to these karmic affinities, the kids come to this world and live with us. But then impermanence sometimes will step in, will happen, and then it will terminate this affinity. So you will never know when these affinities is going to be ended. So it could end, before you die, or or after you pass away. Okay, so it seems quite heartless to say so, but then this is the facts and this is the reality that all parents should accept, because when these happen, these tragic incidents happen, like the kids leave us before we pass away, then you won't immerse yourself in the long sufferings. Okay, so okay, I've come to the end of my sharing, and again I thank you all of us who joined this sharing with me, and those who have I think some of them they left a lot of comments on the YouTube, so I thank you them. And I hope that all of us will learn something from my sharing. Hopefully so. Otherwise, this will be a futile sharing. If I don't teach anyone anything, then I think is a failure. So I hope all of you at least learn something and have a certain revelation about being a parent, about being a dad, being a mom, and how you react with your children and how you live with your children. So lastly, I wish all of you happy Father's Day, although it will be on this Sunday, and hopefully we meet again in future. Okay, thank you. Bye.